Why did this security guard allow himself to be taken hostage? The key lies with the thieves that have captured him and his unwavering determination to seek revenge and justice for what they've done. Two security guards from a company called Fortico are driving an armored truck when a cement truck pulls up before them. As the guards wonder what's happening, armed men get out of the cement truck and force them to exit the vehicle. The robbers start retrieving money bags from the armored truck, but in the chaos, gunshots are heard. This robbery leaves the two Fortico guards and a bystander dead. A few months later, Patrick Hill is interviewing for a security job at Fortico. He has an impressive resume, which makes the manager, Terry, excited. However, Hill has to pass the firearms test as he needs to be prepared for when robberies occur. Hill is tested by the company trainer nicknamed Bullet. Hill barely passes the firearms test, causing the other guards to start laughing and mocking him. They nickname him H and give him a lot of crap for being the newbie. Some of the guards who don't like him include Dana and Boy Sweat Dave. H is informed that he'll be replacing the two guards who had been killed in the first robbery. The first day goes well, and H gets acquainted with the job and his co-workers. Despite everything, he never lets anyone get to him, and he always has a cool facade. 3 months later, H is on a delivery with Dave, and they wonder why Bullet hasn't come into work yet. Suddenly, the walkie-talkies ring and some thugs reveal that they have taken Bullet hostage. They demand that H takes the truck elsewhere and then gives them the money. Dave is scared, but H tells him that they have to comply with what the guards are saying if they want to come out alive. H starts throwing the money bags at the robbers, but he accidentally drops one. H gets out of the truck to retrieve it, but this turns out to be a ploy to distract the robbers. With excellent marksmanship, H kills all the guards and retrieves the money. Back at Fortico, Terry is furious at H for lying about his weaponry skills in the company's test. He wants H to have desk duty for the time being, but Fortico CEO Blake enters the office. He is impressed at how H dealt with the robbers and wants to promote him. He also says that if H continues working the way he has that day, he'll soon have his own franchise. H is called by two FBI agents to help review the first robbery crime scene and see if any of the robbers he'd killed seemed familiar. H mentions that none of them do, although he keeps looking at a particular individual in the footage. The two agents suspect H and they report back to their boss, King. They think that H was involved in the first robbery and he'll lead them to the rest of the crew. However, King tells them to leave H alone. H is applauded by the rest of the security team. A few weeks later, H is on a delivery with Bullet in Chinatown when a motorcycle stops before the truck. Armed men force H and Bullet out. However, when they see Hill's face, they flee the scene without stealing anything. Terry is very suspicious and thinks that H had something to do with the robbers. The incident gives H a new level of respect, but the others become suspicious of him and his motives. They start calling him a dark spirit. Later that evening, H sneaks into Dana's house after finding a large amount of money hidden in it. H questions her as to where she got the money, frightening her with a few shots until she confesses. She reveals that she'd stolen the money on a job a few months prior. H warns her that if she's lying, he would kill her parents. The scene then moves to 5 months earlier in a park called Scorched Earth. H was hanging out with his son Dougie, who studied abroad and was visiting the States. He got a phone call from Mike regarding his last job. H is revealed to be Mason Hargreaves, a crime lord who quit and left his right-hand man Mike in charge. It turns out that the robbers who had seen H earlier and ran away were his own former crew. He doesn't want to do any jobs as he intends to focus on his family. Mike assures him that in this job, he doesn't need to be directly involved. His work is to monitor an armored truck so that Mike's robbery crew can get ready to waylay the truck. H reluctantly agrees to do so and drives to the location where the truck will pass. He asks Dougie to stay in the car while he goes to a nearby food truck to avoid suspicions. As the armored truck appears, a cement truck pulls up in front of it, bringing the scene back to the first robbery. One of the robbers asks Dougie to get out of the car and lay on the ground. However, another robber gets erratic when he realizes that Dougie has seen his face. He shoots Dougie just as H rushes to get to his son. The robber shoots H as well, and they leave the crime scene. 3 months later, H wakes up from a coma and is devastated to learn that his son never made it. H's ex-wife blames him for their son's death, making H determined to avenge him. Mike and his crew felt responsible for Dougie's death and they wanted to help him in any way they could. Sadly, there isn't any information about the new robbers, so the team is lost. This is when King comes into the picture. He gives H a list of possible suspects, hoping that H will help him crack down on a few cases. H and Mike's crew get to work, killing any robber who stands in their way. Eventually, they learn about two brothers suspected to be the killers. However, the brothers are innocent of killing Dougie. Since the many deaths are starting to attract suspicion, King backs out of the deal once the list is completed. This makes H decide to join Fortico as he suspects that the team behind the robbery must have had an inside man. The scene then shifts to the robbers: Carlos, Sam, Brad, Tom, and Jan. This part is called Bad Animals Bad. The robbers are revealed to be disgruntled Afghanistan veterans who feel that the country hasn't properly compensated them for their service. They've been brought together by former Sergeant Jackson. They'd orchestrated the first robbery but managed to get only $110,000. Now they're planning another heist that will give them up to $150 million to be divided between the 5 of them plus their inside man. It's also shown that Jan had been the one who needlessly shot Dougie and the 2 Fortico guards. The rest of the team is worried about Jan's behavior, but they hope he will obey orders when instructed. At present, the team at Fortico is preparing themselves for a large delivery called Black Friday. This is when a significant amount of money is deposited in the company, and it's the same day the veterans are planning to rob the company. Bullet is with H when he reveals that he is the inside man. He tells H to follow everything he says and that all will be over shortly. Bullet turns off the truck's camera and drives into the company's basement so he can let the veteran crew in. The heist is successful and the team manages to start loading the money into the truck. However, one guard hits the panic button, resulting in a fierce shootout. Many guards are killed as the robbers try to escape. Bullet approaches 2 of his workers and asks for a weapon so he can protect the company. The workers give him a weapon, but he turns around and kills them. H takes advantage of the commotion to steal a weapon and start killing the veterans. Thinking like a crime boss, H wears one of the bulletproof suits. He shoots a few of the veterans, but Bullet sees and shoots him too. Bullet, Jackson, and Jan get into the armored truck with the money. They hit the police cars blocking the entryway and a chase ensues. However, the men get into a parking basement and seal the entryway so no one can get in. Seeing how wounded Jackson is, Jan kills him. He and Bullet then start loading the money onto 2 RVs. Here, Bullet realizes that Jan has killed some of the veterans so he can take the money for himself. Bullet wants to eliminate Jan, but he's quicker and shoots him instead. Jan makes away with the money in 2 RVs. The escape route is via many underground tunnels, so it's impossible to find him. In the 4th part of the movie, Jan is in his apartment, happy about his financial freedom, when a phone rings. He investigates and finds that the phone is in the money bags. As he retrieves it, H appears behind him and hands him an autopsy report. H had snuck the phone into the bag so he could get Jan's location. Jan reads the report stating that the deceased had suffered bullet wounds to the liver, lungs, spleen, and heart consecutively. He turns over to the next page and sees Dougie's picture. Realization hits him that H was the man he'd shot running after his son in the robbery. H shoots Jan in the 4 places, wanting him to die the same way his son did. He leaves the house where King and his crew are waiting. He tells him that the job is done and leaves in a car with someone else.